All right, boys and girls, this week we are going to be talking a lot about commas and semicolons. And there's lots of different ways we use commas. So the first one, if I can get it in here, first one, we use commas before and after a word or phrase that renames a noun. So as an example, my sister Elizabeth is nice. That also, we'll talk about it later in the year, but we can take that out. My sister is nice. It's still the same sentence. So we use when we rename a noun, we use them to separate a list or a series. So when I went to the store, I bought apples, oranges, and milk. We're separating the things that we bought. So that is a series and a list, honestly. Then we have commas that separates a cities from states. So like Brooklyn, New York, Stafford, Kansas. And after the greeting and closing in a letter. So, dear Miss Liz, comma, blah, 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 blah. And then sincerely, comma, who you are. So, those are just different ways that we use commas. Then we have semicolons, which is used to join two sentences on the same topic. So, our example is Martin Luther King Jr. was an important leader in the civil rights movement. He helped get equal rights for African Americans. That is one way we use semicolon. Now, I don't have another one for it, but another way we use semicolons is in our sentence. If we're listing like states, cities and states, we use a semicolon because we're already separating the city and the state. So we use the semicolon after that. And I'm going to do an example of that right now. So this is just the example page. So all we're doing is we are adding commas or semicolons where they go. Number 2, sailors were once fishermen, laborers, and even farmers. So we're listing what sailors once were. They were once fishermen, laborers, and even farmers. Okay? So we're just listing what they were. They enlisted from places as far away from Providence, Rhode Island, Lexington, Massachusetts, and Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So here we already have commas because we're separating the cities and states. So we use a semicolon to separate the city and state combo with that. And then when facing battle, new recruits react with courage, fear, or shock. That's the example. Now, page 199 is one of your assignments. And all you're doing is the exact same thing. You're either adding a comma or a semicolon where it belongs within the 8 questions. I don't have the answer key with me right now, so I cannot tell you how many there are. But please just watch for them. I think there's bigger spaces in between them sometimes. So that is one of your assignments. Next, we're going to do it with introductory elements. So this is going to be you're introducing something, so then we need to put a comma in before. So underline each oh my gosh, I can't even speak. So we're going to underline the beginning part and then insert a comma. So in October, comma, that's our introductory. We're talking about in October, we started our unit on the Revolutionary War. I'm not sure what the line's for. So we're going to underline it and then make a comma. At the beginning of the war. Ooh, that's a big one. At the beginning of the war. Comma. The British promised freedom to enslave. Well, comma. Some African Americans did not believe that the British would keep their promise. One thing with these introductory elements is if you read it, you're naturally going to pause. Unfortunately, others did believe the British, who ended up losing the war. Now, unfortunately, others did believe the British. Okay, there's naturally a pause kind of where we need to go. So another one of your assignments is page 200, which is the back of 191 or 199, excuse me. So you're going to do the same thing. You need to underline the introductory and then add a comma or semicolon if you need to. And there are 8 questions on that as well. And last but not least, we have direct address and tag questions. Excuse me. So we are going to underline each direct address or tag question and then insert the correct punctuation. So number 1, James 410 was an amazing man, wasn't he? So we have right here, this is our tag question. Oh gosh. Here is our tag question, wasn't he? James was an amazing man, comma, wasn't he? There again, there's going to be a natural pause. Sandra, did you read the same biography that I did? So this is like an introductory. Sandra, there's a natural pause. Okay? You have time to answer questions, class, before you take the test. So this one, you need a comma here and a comma here. It's just like the first one, or that example where it was like my sister Elizabeth is nice. We could take that out. You have time to answer questions before you take your test. They're just telling you that that's who is going to answer those questions. So next assignment is going to be page 201. And again, you're doing the exact same thing. You're rewriting the sentence. You don't have to rewrite the sentence. If you would, please pass me the index cards, Roberto. Actually, I don't think that one goes there. Please pass me the index card, Roberto. So all you're doing is adding in what you need to do, and that is page 201. We are not doing page 202. It is a review. So then your next one is page 203. That's a connect writing, and you don't have to rewrite the paragraph if you don't want to. You can just make sure you insert the commas and semicolons where they need to be inserted. And those are your assignments for the week.